Hello and welcome to A Moment with MiCHWA, a podcast created by the Michigan Community Health Worker Alliance to provide a space for community health workers to discuss their struggles and obstacles. Today marks the very first episode of our podcast, and I'm overjoyed to have Jennifer Johnson as our first guest. Jennifer Johnson is a community health worker, the lead public health navigator for Michigan United Flint, and the community health worker co-chair of MiCHWA's Community Health Worker Advisory Network. Jennifer, thank you for joining us today to discuss the sustainability of community health workers and your experience on the front lines. I want to start off by asking if you could please describe the work you are doing right now in Flint, Michigan as a community health worker and lead public health navigator.
So I'm Jennifer Johnson. I am a certified community health worker. I'm currently taking part for the Shots in the Arm campaign along with the Genesee County Health Department. And we're just making sure that we are bringing vaccinations to underserved and vulnerable communities that may not, number one, get a chance to get outside of their area to become vaccinated, and also to create safe spaces for them to voice their concerns and questions about the vaccination and to answer any questions on vaccination hesitancy.
Thanks so much for that, Jennifer. And tying back into Flint, Michigan, and their water crisis, how has the water crisis in Flint impacted community health workers? Has it revealed further health equity issues?
Well, one of the things that I noticed by being from Flint, lifelong resident, I should say, a lot of our children, over 25,000 of our children were poisoned by the water. They had lead poisoning. So that caused long-term development delays, learning disabilities, and behavior problems. Fast forward, here's COVID-19. And a lot of families were already struggling with their children during the water crisis. And now they have a disadvantage of dealing with COVID-19 and homeschooling and not having the special education support or the support needed as it was in school for them to, give their kids what they need at home as far as education. And this in turn created more mental stress and depression amongst adults. So that's how I would tie the water crisis into the COVID-19 pandemic. So we saw depression going up, mental illness, suicide. Programs were created that stem from those services needed.
So clearly, community health workers contribute a lot to the field of public health. Jennifer, in your opinion, what is the role of community health workers in the field of public health?
One of the things that, as I think I mentioned before, our role is to offer and provide education, information, to the community so they can get the help that they need. We advocate for individuals who can't advocate for themselves. We help them better understand, what is needed for them to sustain a healthier lifestyle, whether that be mentally, physically, or emotionally. And we usually share the same ethnicity, language, and socioeconomic status with the individuals we serve. So that gives us an advantage to knowing what resources are in the community, knowing how to relate on a personal level with our patients and the individuals that we are serving, as well as having some type of background or past experience to be empathetic towards them.
That's great. I'm really glad you guys are there to provide culturally competent care.
So because community health workers are so essential to communities, specifically communities of color and marginalized communities, how can we, and by we, I mean the government, local communities, and people who work in the public health field, how can we encourage the sustainability of community health workers in Michigan and nationally?
Okay, so first of all, we need support from providers. We need adequate compensation and continuous funding outside of the grants. First of all, we need more sustainable relationship with healthcare systems. I was recently afforded the opportunity to go to Lansing to advocate for CHW's And this is one of the things that we talked about on Advocacy Day was sustaining funding for services and programs, and also to educate lawmakers on what we do so they know how invaluable we are to the healthcare system and the community. So those are just a couple of things. Support from providers, adequate and continuous funding, and more stable relationships with healthcare systems.
Well, I think that's all great, and I hope that we as individuals can also advocate for these action items to ensure that community health workers are being paid what they deserve and have sufficient support from the healthcare system. And then I also kind of want to touch on your role as co-chair of MiCHWA's Community Health Worker Advisory Network. What type of advocacy work have you done in the past and are currently doing to encourage the sustainability of community health workers?
Okay, first of all, like I just mentioned, I was afforded to go to Lansing to speak with the House and the Senate on our CHW Advocacy Day about sustaining funding for services and programs to educate lawmakers on what we do. We share frontline stories to legislation, not just to sustain our grants so programs can become like the fabric of healthcare, but to get reimbursed the same as other healthcare professionals so we can continue with our services, we can offer more resources, and to encourage more people to become certified community health workers from seeing that we are supported by government and legislation. So that is one of the things I advocated for. And right now I'm advocating for every area in healthcare across the state, whether it be mental, physical, or emotional, tie in with other organizations that CHWs work in to see what resources they need to further their works in the community to help individuals sustain a healthier lifestyle.
That's really great. And I hope you guys are successful with all of your endeavor in the advisory network. And I kind of wanted to touch on your personal background. So why did you become a community health worker? Did you have a specific experience that drew you into the field?
I believe I was born to help my community. Honestly, I believe it's in my DNA. I've always volunteered in my community, even as a young girl. And as I began obtaining jobs and moving towards a career, everything I've done has been in the area of community or social service. I was a certified nurse assistant. I was an educator for 4.5 years in the Beecher school system. I've been a corrections officer. I've been a mentor. I've led leadership programs. I've led workshops. I've done outreach with the youth. So it's always been a part of my makeup and what I do day to day. I just was afforded the chance to meet with people from MiCHWA Unite. After 7 months of working with them, they saw my drive, my passion, my work ethic. And I was afforded to have my certification paid for to become a certified community health worker. And 2 months after that, I was afforded to become co-chair of MiCHWA. So not to brag, but when I say my work speaks for itself, just the advancement since I joined MiCHWA United and became a certified health worker speaks volumes to my passions and dedication to this field.
Yeah, I think it really does. And I look forward to seeing what other endeavors you go into next. This basically concludes the interview, but do you want to share anything else about your experience as a community health worker or the advocacy and outreach work you are currently doing or are planning on doing?
Yes, I plan on pilot program very soon for my community. I can't get into it right now, but yes, I see a lack of a few things that I believe could benefit the healthcare community as well as the community as a whole. So I want to implement more education when it comes to healthcare disparities, public health crisis, socioeconomic issues, so that individuals, won't have an excuse for not knowing. It's okay to give them resources. It's okay to point them in the right direction. But when they are educated themselves and know when, where, why, and how they need these services, I think they are better, in tune to not only help themselves, but also to help others.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jennifer. And I wish you the best of luck with your pilot program and hope we see it come into fruition soon.
It shall. I'm excited.
Okay, well, that concludes our first episode. Jennifer, thank you so much for speaking with me today and for sharing your perspective on important community health worker issues. Stay tuned next month for the second episode of A Moment with MiCHWA, where we will continue to delve into salient topics in the community health worker space. This has been A Moment with MiCHWA.